Have you ever seen that film, The Other Guys?
That film? No. We should really talk about that.
Hey, we should do a desk pop.
We should do a desk pop, yeah. And guess what? Now you've wandered into a school of lions. Or is it you say?
What was that quote about the Prius?
The Prius. You've turned my beautiful Prius into a nightmare. We are going to have sex in your car.
Mode.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 6 of the Clashdown Podcast. We're laughing because we were quoting The Other Guys and Step Brothers 2 seconds before I did this intro, so it's been very chaotic so far. How have you been, Gav?
I've been good, Reece. How have you been?
I've been good. I'm glad after... Sorry for any odd audio sounds last week. It was an absolute nightmare to... We had a couple of technical issues and sorted it out, but it's all good.
You had an audio nightmare similar to the kind of horror films made in the 80s.
Basically,
where Freddie would come for you.
Freddie Mercury? I do have some. I do have some dreams like that, but that's another story.
I was more thinking Freddy Krueger, but you know.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. Freddie Mercury. I have dreams of Freddie Mercury comes for me in the night.
Comes for me in the night.
I love Queen as well.
With a Hoover in a short skirt.
Yeah, no, that's the dreams I have about you on a nightly basis. Yeah. That's what I was thinking when me and Gav were standing side by side this Thursday at a Bryan Adams gig in the pouring rain at 10 p.m. in the evening, listening to Heaven. That's what I was thinking about.
The love was right there.
What a gig! What a wholesome gig!
What did you do last week then, Reece?
What did I do last week? Saw Bryan Adams with you.
Yeah, you did.
That's it.
Fucking amazing.
It was fun. Trevor Lawrence. We spoke about him.
What a segue. Trevor Lawrence.
I'm trying to get better with not just going, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Can I just ask, right, is Trevor Lawrence just a really uninspiring name?
It is. You don't get many Trevors these days, do you?
But then you look at I know this is going off topic slightly, but look at the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Trevor, Patrick.
Yeah, maybe that's
Daniel.
Yeah.
I was going to Daniel Jones. What was I thinking?
Daniel Jones. That's that's quite a convenient plug of a person, because that's something we can kind of talk about with the Trevor Lawrence situation. After a few weeks ago, we spoke about Trevor Lawrence, what was going to happen with his contracts. You know, was he going to stay with the Jags? Were they going to sign him to a long-term deal? Had he shown enough? Had he not? He signed a 5-year, $275 million contract extension, which makes him the joint highest-paid player in the league with another quarterback, Joe Burrow. Interesting to say the least for the Jags. What was your impressions when you first saw that?
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
He's not going to be in Aldi's with Justin Jefferson, is he?
The thing is, it's really hard to say too much about the situation with quarterbacks, because obviously there's a fear that a team just lets a quarterback go, and he was the guy. But Dak Prescott gets paid so much that everyone else is like, yeah, just pay me more than that or that.
Yeah. It's when you get that player that resets the market and maybe hasn't proven it enough. This is kind of what happens. You know, this is what happens with, when Christian Kirk got that big wide receiver deal in the offseason a couple of years ago. And it's like, okay, you're signing a guy with a lot of potential, but who's never had a 1,000-yard season to a massive contract. Now everyone who's had 1,500 yards is going to be demanding more money. And in this case with Trevor Lawrence, I don't think, when you look at the top, Patrick Mahomes is the 10th highest paid quarterback in the league, so 10th highest paid player in the league, basically. 3 Super Bowls to his name. I think 2 within that contract, 1 within his rookie contract. Trevor Lawrence and the other 8 people in the top 10, 0 Super Bowl rings between them. The teams tend to win a lot of their Super Bowls with quarterbacks on rookie contracts. That's the thing with Tom Brady, wasn't it? They always gave enough... left enough cap on the table to sign other players to put a good supporting cast around him.
Yeah, you'd have to say that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback the Jags have ever had, haven't you?
I think so. I
guess surely that would come through when it comes to this sort of situation, because if they've got the guy that's the best they've had, the Jags aren't exactly got a long history, have they? You'd think there'd be a fear that if you let this guy go, are you ever going to get... Or how long is it going to be until you get another guy? because I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback.
Yeah,
it's just the problem is the money is insane.
It's I suppose the way you look at it of like market value versus what a player actually does versus where the league's at versus their history, and you can only really look at it in comparison. Like you look at Jared Goff, who on average is $53 million per year. Okay, that's $2 million less than the highest paid quarterback in the league, but Jared Goff just went to an NFC Championship. You know, nearly went to the Super Bowl. Like he's won playoff games. He's been to a Super Bowl. You know, he's doing good things statistically, a lot better than a lot of quarterbacks last year. More passing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson, who had an MVP. So you can at least justify that. But when you're looking at a guy that's won one playoff win and basically had one decent season, who's getting paid the joint highest in the league, I find it hard. I get it. Yeah. I also think for a front office, go on.
Of course, the other problem as well now going forward is the hit on the cap.
Yeah,
so is Trevor Lawrence good enough to do it when he's surrounded by players that are now having to accommodate for a cap because he's just taken a huge chunk of it? Going forward, it's a huge season, isn't it? I think that's the other thing as well, is it? It's not like Trevor Lawrence is coming off a great season. So now you go into this season, you've got that money dedicated to him. You're going to look to have a very good season, but do you think the Jags are well placed to have a great season?
I think they had more pieces last year than this year. I think that, you know, they've got the young rookie wide receiver in there, but obviously lost Ridley. They haven't got Zay Jones anymore. Like, there's some of those reliable targets. You know, I think Christian Kirk's that big guy that Trevor Lawrence likes throwing to, and Evan Ingram as well. So there's the reliable targets in there. But, you know, I'd argue, basically, if the Jags are in the same place as a team as they were last year, we've seen what that team does. You saw the difference with using Joe Burrow as the comparison because they're obviously paid the same amount now. Well, Joe Burrow, after coming off a terrible ACL tear into his second season, after having 6 or 7 games, whatever, as a rookie, went to the Super Bowl. But you can see that he elevates the team. But
Trevor Lawrence has better hair.
This is a good. Well, I don't know. Have you seen that Joe Burrow lately is looking a bit like Anakin Skywalker? So
yeah, I've seen that actually. Yeah,
Joe Burrow,
so he's even losing that edge.
The way I look at this is that it's the better the devil you know in a situation.
Yeah.
And for a front office, if they go, this generational talent, we picked first overall, and within 5 years he's not on our team anymore. That doesn't look good for a front office. A front office going, we've signed him to a long-term contract. We're seeing what he can do. He has improved the franchise at the end of the day. Let's get some stability. That makes sense. You know, realistically, who would have their other option have been? You know, where they were in the draft, would they have been able to trade up to get one of the other guys? But then you're back into having a rookie quarterback. I think it comes down to, do I think Trevor Lawrence is worth this amount of money? No. Do I think it was the best option to the Jags and their only real option to sign into this contract? Yes. That's basically it.
What a great situation to be in for the franchise.
I know. We'll see. But before we move on to our main section of the episode, which we'll intro a bit more in a bit, let's talk about a couple of other bits of news quickly. So T. Higgins for the Bengals, obviously after Jefferson got that monster contract, signed his franchise tag. So that means he'll play on a 1-year contract basically for the Bengals in a situation where I guess they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Jamar Chase, what contract they're going to sign him to. But that might be a development. He also could get traded. So as of right now, there's a bit of stability with T. Higgins' situation, but we'll see a bit more in the future and talk about a bit more in the future as we get closer to the season and see what the Bengals actually do. Not just that, but then Jake Bates, the kicker who in the UFL in week 1 made a 64-yarder, gets signed by the Lions to a 2-year contract. So he actually kicked that 64-yarder in that stadium, which is also where Justin Tucker kicked his NFL record kick against the Lions, and now he'll be obviously playing in that stadium this season after getting signed to that contract.
It's a good day for someone who knows how to kick a ball a long way.
It is, and with the Euros at the moment, being able to kick Reece's footballing knowledge really coming to the fore there. If you kick the ball a long way, you must be good at football. That's what happens, isn't it? It's just everyone lines up and it's whoever can boot it to the end of the field. Don't talk about soccer.
You're not allowed.
But I've got a whole Euros 2024 preview set up.
England will hopefully kick the ball more than France, who hopefully won't kick the ball as much. The end.
Yeah, that's my analysis, word for word, actually.
Join Reece on his Euro 2024 podcast journey.
This is the thing. When Gavin says about like my level of NFL knowledge, if this was reversed and we were talking about football, yes. I would be absolutely fucking clueless.
Yeah. I like to think that I would definitely win the battle overall.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of NFL knowledge and quite a lot of football knowledge, but we're not here to talk about that.
No, all I'm looking forward to Mbappe having 6 home runs against Serbia this weekend.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So with the news done, let's go into the main section of this episode. This is the fantasy team lineup 2024 section. So what we've basically done here, as we thought would be quite interesting, is Gavin has picked his team basically off who would win him a Super Bowl. The best quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end combo that would win him a Super Bowl.
In my incredibly limited knowledge.
It's a real world Super Bowl, not fantasy football Super Bowl, real world Super Bowl. What I've done is I've picked a fantasy football team of who... I did an actual mock draft to try and pick the best team who would win me a fantasy football Super Bowl at the end of the season. So what we have is the fantasy versus fantasy football situation, and we want to see how that differs. How who sees who as the best, who sees who as what.
We haven't compared notes.
We literally haven't compared anything. We barely spoke about the section. We're kind of just making it up as we go along.
Beautiful standard.
But so we've got quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex position, kicker, and defense. So as you would have it for a fantasy football team, and we're going to go one by one on position and player picked. Shall I kick things off with quarterback?
You can do that.
Okay. So for my fantasy football team, I picked, when it got eventually to that round, Brock Purdy as my quarterback. I think, to be honest, it wouldn't be too much of a bad decision to pick a guy that just came off going to a Super Bowl and being within 3 points of winning it and a previous NFC championship as your actual full-on quarterback anyway. Regardless of what you think of Purdy's ability, he's at least proven that he can do it. NFC championship as a rookie after not even starting the full season. If he hadn't have got injured, who knows what would have happened. Second year, first full season, coming off an injury as well, makes the Super Bowl, comes in 3 points of winning it. Third season now, we're getting Purdy going into his first season where he's come off a full off season with no injury, and he's still got an incredible supporting cast around him. So I think even from the point of view that Gavin's come from, of what team would win me a Super Bowl, we've nearly seen this guy win a Super Bowl. So I think it works for kind of both the fantasy football as well.
And he's going to rack up the points again, dumping it off to McCaffrey.
That's a different conversation now.
Okay, right.
So you're my quarterback, yeah.
So my beautifully actually, my quarterback. This is to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Whether you think he's the best or not, the guy is winning Super Bowls. And last season, did the Chiefs even have the best team? Questionable. Yeah. So I go Mahomes, and funnily enough, we've ended up picking the 2 quarterbacks that have played each other in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and a versus we've gone for Purdy versus Mahomes on a right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Shall I go first with the running back?
Yeah, I have a feeling we've both probably picked the same for our running back one here, but go ahead.
Probably not. So the funny thing about this is the guy I picked as my first running back is actually based on the fact that he did so well for me in his rookie season as my running back for pretty much 95% of the season. It's Jamar Gibbs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Lightning quick. He's got versatility. I think he's great, and obviously behind a really good O-line. He racked up a lot of points for me. So I think going into his second season, I think he could be something special.
Do you know what's funny? I feel like I'll get to my pick in a minute, but I feel like it's probably quite obvious based off what I've just said. However, I did genuinely look at Jamar Gibbs and go, with less touches in his first season, he was incredible. You know, he can catch the ball, he can rush the ball, he can be that difference maker, he can be that dynamic player. Yep. I did have there was a little bit of me for a while that thought, okay, maybe this is the guy. However, after that 2-year extension and after what he did last season, coming off an Offensive Player of the Year campaign, you know, staying healthy and all that, I couldn't bet against McCaffrey. And I picked McCaffrey was my first pick of the mock draft that I did. You know, he's finally started to be consistently healthy for a team. We're seeing how dynamic and how fantastic he is as a player when he's consistently healthy. Christ, I remember in the NFC Championship that Brock Purdy got injured. He basically just ran through the entire Eagles defense on his own.
Even though they knew what was happening.
Quarterback. They knew it was given. Okay, well, all we can do is give it to McCaffrey, and he breaks 7 tackles and he has a touchdown. You know, where added the only level of excitement to that NFC Championship. Yeah. And I think the thing is coming off the family he comes from, and their sporting history and their competitiveness, there's no way that he's going to come off that Super Bowl loss last year, where he had a fantastic performance as well, and not go, I need to be back there. I need to win this. I need to, you know, add to my legacy and my family's legacy.
It would be, and I know the NFL is littered with great players that haven't won a Super Bowl, but it would be crazy if he didn't.
Yeah, I think that with how good him and George Kittle are, they're the two people who I go, I want these guys to win a Super Bowl because, you know, they're just so talented and have been so talented for so long, and obviously play the game as hard and as you want to see a player play it. So they're the types of people you want to win Super Bowls. And this Niners team has been so good for so long and has been so nearly there for so long. You know, I just want to see that happen. Even if it's just McCaffrey is the only guy left on the team who wins the Super Bowl, and then George Kittle's the tight end on that team. That's it. I'd be happy with that.
Right.
Running back 2.
Yeah.
Moving on from that. Okay, I'll go first on this one. So I actually picked Joe Mixon here. Ooh. Obviously, you know, 1,000-yard season last year with the Bengals, drafted by the Bengals a few years ago. And he signs with the Texans, who have added that rushing attack, you know, especially last season with Devin Singletary. That became a big part of their team, that rushing attack and what you can do. When you've got a quarterback as well as a rushing attack, and both can do incredibly well, they work in tandem with each other. As long as your team can rush the football, that takes the pressure off your quarterback. It adds in play action. We've seen how good Ryan Tannehill was for years because they had Derrick Henry and he could just play action the ball and throw for 15 yards in a championship game and then, you know, win the game. So I think with the Texans, you go into the second year with CJ Stroud, who I think is the real deal. And this is probably the best O-line that Joe Mixon would have had in his time as a starter. We've seen what he did with that Bengals O-line over the years. And he was fantastic. And now he goes to probably his best O-line that he's running behind. And you're going into second year CJ Stroud with also a better supporting cast for him. So I could just see him having a monster season with what I'd say is a top 10 O-line in the league.
Fair enough. My running back 2... almost too obvious, but I've gone Derrick Henry.
Okay.
The guy, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he does at the Ravens, but he's a beast. And if I was to try and pick a team to win the Super Bowl, the combination, that's what I went with, the combination of Gibbs and Henry.
I see.
Like, by the way, you'd be a bit over the cap if you tried to get this whole lot together, but, you know, let's forget about that. So that's what I kind of went for, that combo. So there you go. Okay. Derrick Henry.
So what made you go for? Is it because Gibbs and McCaffrey they're quite a similar player?
Gibbs and Henry.
Gibbs and McCaffrey, because obviously, arguably McCaffrey's the best running back in the league at the moment because of what he can do. Well, so what made you go for?
I haven't gone to my flex.
Oh, okay, interesting. Right. Well, I wonder who your flex is.
Let's
just do that now.
McCaffrey. Who wants to go first on the wide receivers?
You can go first, since we'll alternate.
I'll give you CeeDee Lamb because I'm a Cowboys fan and I'm sticking one in and I don't care. But actually, he is awesome. He's been fantastic. He is, again, remember, I look at this from a fan's point of view, and he is literally he's the only hope. He's the only thing. Like, okay, the Cowboys have actually got a few decent things going on in the team, but the reality is that if you took CeeDee Lamb out, I think the odds on us even winning the NFC East diminish. Now,
Yeah.
the odds on us winning the NFC East are pretty slim this year anyway. But the fact that we have CD Lamb gives us a chance. So I had to pick CD.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think that, again, another guy who, when you look at the best first 4-5 seasons for a player, he's also up there with Justin Jefferson. Hasn't got as many yards, but he has been so good for the Cowboys, for your team, for so many years. Like, so, I don't hate it at all. I think he's both reliable, as well as has the special catch ability, as well as puts the yards up and the touchdowns. So I don't hate it. And I think that leads me perfectly into who I ended up picking here, because my wide receiver one is Mike Evans.
Oh, do you know what? I almost chose him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'll get to my second wide receiver, but I almost chose him because you were about to say consistent.
Yes, consistent. Who can you rely on who's done it year after year, no matter what the quarterback has been, no matter what the situation has been, injuries and no injuries in places, who has done it year after year and shown that they can do it on the biggest stage of them all as well? Not WrestleMania, the Super Bowl. Mike Evans. He's going into the second year with Baker. He was re-signed, so there's that pressure that's off him. He's won that Super Bowl. He plays loose now because he's, done so much over the years. He's never had a season less than 1,000 yards. That first season with Baker, they showed such good rapport. Even looking at the age he is now, I think he's 30 now, which is still, young as
nowadays.
Some
they
wide
look
receivers.
Yeah,
they look at exactly. When you've got Larry Fitzgerald 5-6 years ago still playing into his late 30s, wide receivers these days can play a lot longer. So I just think that second year with a stable quarterback who we've shown can win in the playoffs as well with the team, that team's kind of gelling and moving forwards, and they've got stability with Baker and all that. As I said, I think if they can help their rushing attack next year, they could be quite a formidable force. It wasn't much. There was that game with them and the Lions in the playoffs. Like, the Lions ended up taking the win, but it wasn't they were destroyed. It was, I feel like it's the Lions team this year are going to be where the Bucks are next year. The Bucks, the most recent season, was where the Lions were the season before. So I can see that progression happening, and then suddenly you've got two formidable forces. But yeah, I went for Mike Evans here.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Are you doing your second wide receiver or?
No, you can do it. If you do yours, and then we'll alternate.
Okay.
The whole way through.
It's cliche, but I've gone Tyreek.
Okay, fair enough.
It was a bit of a toss up between Mike Evans, and they're very, very different. But the ultimate last season, Tyreek, before he got injured, was just ridiculous. Arguably with not the greatest quarterback going to him, but it does help that the Dolphins' offense is amazing. But he's done it with two different teams now.
Yeah.
There aren't many wide receivers in history like Tyreek Hill, are they?
No.
Is there? So, that's my choice, baby. I've got some pace in my side. I've got speed.
Yeah, you've gone for the kind of you've built a sort of Miami Dolphins offense, basically. That's what you've worked with. That's what you've gone for. Whereas I've gone for, I don't know how I would describe my team. My team's it's got a bit of underdog grunginess to it.
Well, my team is uncosted. If this was a manifesto, it's completely. So basically, we're going to build 6,000 new hospitals. We're going to put 700,000 new police in. Everyone's going to get 50 grand just dumped in their bank account. For that's what. If mine was a party political manifesto, you've all just been given 50 grand each. Thank you.
See, mine's a realistic,
yours realistic,
possible, solution that we can go with for this next season. Mine is costed. Yeah. My budget. I will give you my budget.
Do the politicians finger thing.
Yeah, that's
like the big word nowadays is ick. That is my ick. We will do this and that, and it's like you're holding fucking drumsticks.
Yeah, this team's gonna win. We're gonna win.
Anyway, carry on. Give us your wide receiver.
Wide receiver 2. Okay, my wide receiver 2 is George Pickens. I think that, again, another wide receiver who, it's his third year in the league, has got an upgrade at quarterback. Like I said a few weeks ago, it doesn't matter what where you think Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are at, they are an upgrade on Kenny Pickett. They are an upgrade on Mason Rudolph. So regardless, that is an upgrade for a guy who, again, similar to Mike Evans, first couple of seasons has similar to Mike Evans' first couple of seasons has played incredibly well without necessarily a top quarterback at all. I think that now going into this season, he's got such immense talent when it comes to catching the ball. You just need to throw it to him more and just need to be able to get him the ball more. And I think that now he's got someone who can at least get the ball to him and can at least, as a passer, be better than what he's had. I think it could be quite a breakout season for George Pickens. We've seen what he can do when he hasn't had necessarily the best quarterback, and now let's see what he can do where he's got an improvement.
Gorgeous.
Right. What about you? Wide receiver. What about you? Wide receiver 2.
I've given you my 2 wide receivers.
Who was your second one?
I've CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill.
Oh, sorry, I got completely mixed up because you went first on the thing you are. Who's your fringe practice squad wide receiver, by the way, for this too?
Yeah,
I see.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift in a wide receiver.
In a slot.
Romeo, take me somewhere I can score a touchdown.
Yeah, I think we're moving on to tight ends now.
I think so. Tight end or wide receiver 5.
Give me your tightest end.
Not this again. Not the old Gav special.
Tighten your end for me.
Tight end. My tight end. Let's talk about that. So it's funny because I picked this guy when it came to this part of the draft that I picked this guy. If anyone's seen, currently I'm in a random discussion with about 8 different people on one of the Instagram comment sections because the NFL put up a post and it was a picture of Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Evan Ingram. And it was something that said like, oh, top 3 tight ends. And then I put in the comments, finally getting some respect put on Evan Ingram, who I was picked as my tight end, as his name. And then obviously multiple people responded back to me saying, oh, he's so bad. Like, why are you saying, oh, he's so shit. Like, he's crap and all this. And I was like, he's not crap. He's not the best, but he's reliable. That's it. He's not the best tight end by any means. He's been so reliable for years. The 2 years he's been in Jacksonville, he's been top 5 for tight ends in receptions and top 5 for tight ends in yards. Last year, he was the top tight end out of anyone in the NFL for receptions. So as a reliable guy, he's there. He's up there with the best in terms of reliability. Definitely not the best tight end, but you can rely on him. So in this situation, with Trevor Lawrence signing his new contract, he's had arguably his best 2 seasons in the NFL since being away from the Giants and just in general with Lawrence. There's that rapport there. It's going forward. I think he's going to have another reliable season. And if you want to argue with me on Instagram, you can go fuck yourself because I know I'm right.
No one argues. No one puts Reece in the corner.
No, they tried, and I'm like the wind.
I personally think that is a rogue choice, but that's your choice. And
thank you.
Freedom of speech.
I will win.
Other side of bollocks. So, I mean, given I chose Patrick Mahomes to lead my team forward, it's fairly obvious who I went at tight end.
Yes.
Taylor Swift.
Josh Jacobs.
I went Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer at tight end.
Imagine all Labour versus all Tory team. We'll pick that next week. Travis Kelce, obviously. Okay.
You know, it's a beautiful connection that those two have. I mean, I'm not saying I want the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl again. I don't want the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl again. But if I was to try and pick a team to win it, the combo of Mahomes, and I mean it's this generation's Brady and Gronkowski, isn't it? It's like bloody pancakes and maple syrup. It's like Reece and Reece and Jorts. Just
me and Jorts and Bryan Adams.
It's like Reece Jorts and maple syrup. They all just go together.
It just works. I don't know why. It just works.
It just works.
It just works. It just works. At the end of the day, like you said, we don't want the Chiefs to three-peat. but arguably their team's better than last season. And you can't deny how good they are. You know, Travis Kelce last year, first non-1,000-yard season in a long time, but he also missed 2 games. He had a knee injury. He's basically what felt like the only top target on that Chiefs team in a place where everyone else was dropping millions and millions of balls. So now you go into this season, they've got improvements at wide receiver. You've got Travis Kelce, who's not going to be triple teamed by the entire defense. You can't argue with it. I get it.
Yeah.
Flex. I know your flexes, but do you want to explain your working?
It's Christian McCaffrey because he's fucking excellent.
Okay, I believe it. Short and sweet. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, my flex, because at this point, obviously, I'd picked everyone else in this mock draft. So my flex was actually Brian Robinson Jr., the running back for the Commanders. So he had some injuries last season. Which kind of stopped him from playing in all of the games. But he can catch the ball very well. He's a good receiver. You can give it to him 20 times a game and he can run it. The thing is, if you look at the stats in terms of his carries throughout the season, he had just under 750 yards, but also Washington were playing behind so much throughout the season. You couldn't give him the ball 20 times a game. Unless it was Madden, you're just going, I want to get your stats up. The game scripts for Washington last year basically meant that rushing the ball became almost impossible. Their O-line hasn't been good. Now you suddenly go into a situation where, they've improved as a team. The injuries aren't going to be there this year. And his only competition really is Austin Eckler, who has slowed down a lot, and I don't think necessarily has I think he's just fallen victim to what a lot of running backs do, which is just
Remind me who
years
their
of wear and
quarterback
tear.
is this year.
It'll be Jaden Daniels, the pick 2 of the draft, who I think I saw a clip of him practicing the other day, and he looked so sharp, and I think that Washington have found, an absolute stud in that guy.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, I think,
see.
Brian Robinson Jr., I think, is a solid running back. I think not having to play from behind, dare I say it, he's going to have his first 1,000-yard rushing season this year. Ooh. Yeah, even that. Hot takes. I will add in the explosions this week. Last week, I nearly had a breakdown trying to edit the audio.
The only explosion happening last week was in your mind trying to edit the audio.
Not a mind explosion, he says as I launch my laptop out of the window again. Brian Robinson Jr.
How many times did you have this internal fuck?
I was like, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna move to Uruguay. I'm gonna support Japan in the Euros. Like,
find you like Luke Skywalker on a rogue island, drinking bizarre milk from animals.
Reece, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Nice.
Okay, so now we're on to the most fun positions for everyone, which is kicker and defense. Who did you pick? Who did you pick?
I didn't pick one. Name me a kicker. No. I'll have him.
Shall I name you? I know exactly what you were going to say. Don't name the Chiefs kicker.
Dickhead.
Oh no, yeah, you're not a fan of him, are you?
Not the misogynistic knob.
No, yeah, not a fan of him. Greg Zuerlein for the Jets. How about him?
Can I have the No, I want the Cowboys guy. I can't remember his name.
Oh, the dude who was a monster last year. Was it Aubrey? Yeah. Was it Aubrey?
Aubrey,
yeah.
Rhymes with strawberry.
There you go. That's how you...
I want Aubrey because it rhymes with strawberry and he plays for the Cowboys.
And because he was fantastic last year.
That's my NFL analysis.
There you go. Okay, well, you've gone with that. I've gone with the guy that I mentioned very earlier in the episode, which is Jake Bates. New kicker sign for the Lions. 64-yard kick, got the leg that he obviously did in the UFL. Nice. He's playing on an offense that can move the ball downfield. Sometimes when you're picking a kicker in fantasy, you have to go for, what team are going to be able to move the ball to get points. The Lions can move the ball. Arguably one of the best, if not, well, not arguably, one of the best offenses in the league. Has, not really lost anyone going into this season. I think they're coming off a strong year last year. So they're going to move the ball. They're going to be able to get loads of PATs, loads of field goals.
Just picturing like January the 14th and the Lions season ends on a double doink.
Oh, no.
A base double doink.
Imagine that legacy is over. Predicted by Gavin and Reece in the Clutchdown podcast.
Predicted by Gavin, jinxed by Reece.
Yeah. Oh man, poor guy. But yeah, I think you know what's funny about that though. You said about finishing on a double doink. That would probably be the worst way for the Lions season to end, purely off the fact that if they'd have kicked those field goals in the NFC Championship, they would have been in the Super Bowl. Because I even put on my notes here, I'll write, this is exactly what I put for my notes. Kicker, Jake Bates, 64-yard kick, playing on an offense that can move the ball downfield. In brackets, that's a lot of PATs and field goals. Then which hopefully they kick this time, not like the playoffs. Right, so last bit of team, a spot of team, defense.
The exciting world of defense. I Googled it, I'm going Browns.
So did I. Down with Browns as well.
We got one together.
We did. And if I'd have fed you the line of Jake Bates at kicker, you would have chosen him as well. So basically,
Batesy, I'd have been all over Batesy.
There you go.
Batesy the double doink. That's what I call it. Triple doink. Actually, he's going to make a triple doink. There you go.
So about one middle, right, out.
Triple doink. He's going to triple doink it.
He's going to draw an isosceles triangle within the within the post.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Cleveland Browns, I think that last year they were such a formidable defense. Garrett was a monster, had his Defensive Player of the Year campaign, was playing a lot of the season with that shoulder injury. So healthy shoulder going into this year. One thing with the Browns, which is completely different to what I mentioned with the Vikings. As I said, the Vikings on offense, they don't have a lot of depth behind their top guys. One of them goes down and puts them in a bad position. Browns just have depth all over defense. If you have a guy go down, there's another guy that can step up who is still fantastic. And I think that's the thing. When your top defense and the best players in your defense, if they're all starting healthy, you can't really beat the Browns defense. If you have one of those guys go down, there isn't as much of a weak link as there is on other teams. And I think they'll just be a monster this season as well.
A monster.
A monster. You did the monster mash.
Just beat me to it.
There you go. Okay, that's good. I think it was...
Whose team would win? Probably yours.
Yeah. Well, mine's a realistic fantasy football team, and yours is realistically your team is... That's a Super Bowl ready team.
Mine's uncosted nonsense, but my God, it would be fun. So it'd be a lot of fun to watch.
The thing I want to ask you to finish this off,
yes.
When it came to wide receiver, what made you not pick Justin Jefferson?
I was always going to pick Tyreek Hill because I think he is a bit unique, which meant that I just went with pure bias on CD Lamb. I think if I supported any other team, I would have probably picked Jefferson.
Fair enough. I get that.
There you go.
That's
it's fan logic. I'm a fan.
I get that, going with the player that's, Justin Jefferson's fantastic, but in terms of physicality, Tyreek is up there, unique with the speed and everything like that. So I get it. Yeah,
and surely any franchise would want a Tyreek on their side, wouldn't they?
I think so. I think that's a good
Gav's franchise.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's our two teams. My fantasy football lineup, Gav's fantasy team. Join us next week. In the meantime, follow us on Instagram at ClutchdownPod to see reels from this episode and other episodes. Join in the discussion. Tell us what you think about what's been said. Look at us up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the podcast places at ClutchdownPods. Listen wherever you want to listen to us. Like I said before, we're here for you. We are here for you. See you next week.